Stonemeyer Games, and this is a special live cast this week because this is our monthly e-newsletter live cast in which we have opened pre-orders for Between Two Castles, a Madkin Ludwig expansion, secrets, and soirees. I'm so excited to get this out to you. We're anticipating that shipping will begin in mid-June. It might be a little bit earlier than that in some regions, maybe a little bit later in some regions, but definitely in June sometime, and probably around mid-June, depending on the worldwide state of freight shipping. But we have already made this. It's on the way to fulfillment centers, and we are so excited to get it to you. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions about it. There's a lot of information about it on our website, but I will probably be talking about it and showing it off to you as I chat today. There is a link to the e-newsletter in case you didn't receive it. There's a link over here in the sidebar in the description of this video that you can check out. Hey, Tony, Carol, good to see you today. Thanks for joining us. Let's see what's in this box. There's a lot actually in this box. We tried to pack it pretty tight because we know that we designed this to fit the core game box. And so after you take all this stuff out of the expansion, you are just going to put it right into the core game because we designed this insert with the help of game trays. Here's the insert for it. You can see how it's crafted specifically to fit into the core game box of Between Two Castles. So the top layer of Between Two Castles has an insert that kind of fits like this, like a puzzle piece, and all of the new tiles fit in here. Here's a new slot for the 8th player because now this expansion lets you play up to 8 players. I'm seeing cat hair all over mine, but that won't be in your box. Here's the 8th player over here. And of course, as we've talked about quite a bit, it includes promo tiles that were previously promos. They're no longer promo, or I guess we'll call them promos, but they're included in the expansion now. And it includes there's some new bonus cards, promo bonus cards, and it includes a full Automata mode. So you can now play Between Two Castles solo, which I'm really, really excited about for those of you who have been waiting to be able to play this game solo. New scorepad, new reference cards. Here's more Automata stuff. We packed this box with everything that we can so we could offer as good of a price as we can as possible to you. It's $20 on our web store, $15 for Champions because Champions get a 25% discount both on that and 25% discount on shipping. So if you are not a champion, here's a good chance to sign up and be a champion before you place your pre-order. I can jump back to, on my other screen here, I have the e-newsletter up here so I can answer any questions that you have. And I'm just really excited to get this to you. The other related news is that we have a lot of expansion reprints that are finally coming back into stock. They're in the same shipments that have the Between Two Castles expansion. And so if you've been waiting to get Wingspan Oceania, Wingspan European, Tuscany for viticulture, Scythe Encounters, or the Scythe Realistic Resource Tokens, they are now back in stock on our web store right now. So you can pre-order them together with this expansion or separately if you just want one or the other. And also last, I'll come back to this during the live cast as more people join in, but we are offering, if you don't already have Between Two Castles, we are offering it at a pretty steep sale and even at a much steeper discount if you have the champion disc, if you are a Stonemeyer champion. So you can get the core game and this expansion all at the same time and just put everything together in one box and start playing. Chris kindly asked, how are the cats? And the cats are doing well. Biddy he's been spending a lot of time outside on our patio, and Walter has found a new spot in the bedroom. You know, cats, how they find their spots and they get all excited about them. So Walter has a new spot lately. Patrick says his baby girl just turned 2 on Monday. Happy birthday to your daughter. Patrick says, at her party on Sunday, we gave her My Little Scythe with Pie in the Sky. She loved it, and soon we will play. She's very into games already. At 2 years old, that's incredible, Patrick. That's awesome. Any plans of creating more games for the young gamers? We don't have any plans in the works. If the right game came along, we're open to it. There was a special thing that happened, I think, with My Little Scythe in particular. But it is something that we could consider in the future, but we don't have anything in the works right now. Let's see. Kevin says he's also been looking for clear resource containers. We should have those back in stock soon. We think they're on these containers that are coming in, but they aren't on the packing list, so we don't know for sure. So we didn't want to put them up for pre-order and then have them not actually show up. But if you request a back in stock notification, we'll let you know as soon as they are indeed back in stock. Jason says, will there ever be a significant new expansion for Scythe? No, Jason, no. We've kind of been very public about saying that Scythe, the tabletop game, is complete. The story is complete. We have a trilogy of expansions. That's everything for Scythe. We are done making new content and components for Scythe. We will continue to support the game for as long as people want it, but we're done making new stuff for it. There is a possibility that I might design another game in the Scythe 1920 plus world, but it would not be Scythe. It wouldn't be Scythe 2.0 or anything like that. It would be a completely new game, just designed in that world. Designer Francesco Testini is joining us today. Thanks for dropping by, Francesco. As is the Instagrammer, I believe, Board Game Shot. Sean says, I'm looking for the bundle sales on the website. Is that an option still, or has that been removed? There isn't a bundle. Oh, I think you're referring to something that we had a while ago, Sean. Yeah, we used to offer bundled, some things bundled together. What we do offer now instead of that, because that app didn't work all that well, it didn't take away inventory, so we often would end up selling things that weren't actually in stock. So we have a new app called Upsell. So when you add certain products to your cart, you'll get a little pop-up that says, hey, you can also add this thing to your cart. Sometimes it's at a discount, sometimes it's just a recommendation. So there is no bundle thing anymore on our website, but there is that upsell thing for certain items. So for example, right now, if you go to your cart and add Between Two Castles to your website, to your cart, you'll see a pop-up that says, hey, you can also add the expansion to your cart as well if you'd like. Carol's joining us a little bit earlier than usual today. Carol, thanks for popping by. Hope you're having a good day. Kim is here today, photographer Kim Euchre. Thanks for dropping by, Kim. Steiner says, for the Wingspan Big Box, yeah, this is one of the topics I wanted to talk about today. You can kind of see it behind me here. I'll pick it up in a second. Steiner says, have you considered a card tower for all the cards that's sized significantly for any kind of sleeve cards? We have not. No, I saw a post about that in the Wingspan group, but I don't know why you'd ever want that, just to be honest. Like for Wingspan, you don't ever need a deck of 800 cards sitting on the table. You're never going to get through that many cards in the game. So in Wingspan, you'll probably take a stack of cards, maybe one that you haven't used recently, maybe one that's a combination of different expansions that you're excited about to play with that moment, and you'll just put that deck of cards on the table. And so the big box is kind of designed around that concept, that you can just take out a clump of cards, because I can't see any circumstance where you'd ever want that type of thing on the table, where you'd want 600 to 800 cards just sitting in a giant stack on the table, even if it's contained within a box. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something that's super obvious here. I'll pull that box out in a second before I have a few other questions here, then I'll get to that box. Tom says, I see a lot of other companies using your codename idea for upcoming releases. Where did you get the idea from? Where did I get the idea from? I got it from... I wrote about it on the blog, so there might be a source that I'm forgetting here. Oh, I got it from Magic the Gathering. That's where I got it from. Magic the Gathering uses code names for sets that they've alluded to but haven't released yet. Tom says also, did you watch Eurovision? I did not watch Eurovision, no. George says, how's my dad feeling? My dad's actually feeling pretty good. He's starting to gain some of his weight back. My dad had, for those of you who don't know the context, my dad had surgery recently related to his intestine and some cancer-related stuff. Lost a lot of weight as a result, but he is slowly getting his weight back and slowly reactivating his intestinal system. Jesse says he's playing Tapestry soon. That's awesome. What's your favorite starting faction? I'll make sure to play it. Oh, I wouldn't go by my favorite, Jesse, because my favorite, I just like to play factions that I haven't played in a while, or civs that I haven't played in a while. And I'm happy with the design of a lot of the different civs. So I would just do it random. I would pick one that you're randomly excited about today. Let's see. Tonk says, dual-layered player mats are my favorite Stonemaier Games component, but I know they're quite the hassle to produce. They're more expensive, they're a hassle, they can lead to warping, things like that. What's your position on using them in games again? I mean, if it is an asset to the game, if it's a game where if you do bump your player mat, that it would be very difficult to reset it. Absolutely, yeah, I would definitely use dual layered player mats in the future. And some might argue that like the tapestry mats are that way, maybe, but we added a special texture to the surface of tapestry to prevent those tokens from sliding around. I am open to doing it again in the future. I think we got better and better at making them for Scythe so that they don't warp as much. We know how to do the graphic design at this point. And so the last consideration will be price point. Dual layer player mats definitely increase the cost of making the game and therefore increase the price to consumers. So I would only want to do it if it was actually necessary and helpful. Yeah. But I am open to doing it again. Max says, any word on when Tuscany will be back in stock to order? It should be back in stock right now. Unless I didn't do something correctly this morning. Instead of me looking for that, Max, check on our website to see if Tuscany is back in stock. It should be back in stock right now. Kevin says, if clear plastic containers come back in stock before Between Two Castles, the Between Two Castles expansions ships, can I add them to that order? Possibly. That can create complications in our shipping system. I don't think they're going to line up because I think I would say overall no. I don't think that'll be possible, Kevin. When orders enter our shipping system, it's very difficult to modify them at that point. So no, I wouldn't say that's probably going to be possible at this point. But we'll keep them in stock. You'll be able to put them on a different order in the future, and I don't think shipping for them is very expensive. Okay, let's open up the Wingspan Big Box prototype number 2 real quick. I'll show you some aspects of it. What's the best way to do this? It is a big, heavy box, but my desk can handle it. Might just get a little shaky camera real quick. So, take off the top here. It's hard for me to put this on camera, but I'll take off the top and show you what the top layer looks like. So the top layer, and this is a prototype. There will be modifications made. Obviously, it won't be a big white box. So the top layer is designed to hold all the rule books, goal mats, and 2 sets, here I can show you here, 2 sets of 5 player mats each on either side. So you can see there's 2 sets of player mats here, 5 on here, 5 on here, and below those player mats is the neoprene play mats. So the neoprene player mats are fully extended here, so you don't have to fold them. They're fully outstretched, and this fits 5 of them, or it should fit 5 of them. We need to make it a little bit deeper, so that's one of the modifications we'll be making for the revisions for this. So that's the top layer here. And you can see the little handholds. These little handholds are helpful for this layer because this layer can be the middle layer if you want it to be. I wouldn't recommend it, but it can be the middle layer. And these handholds make it easier to get it back out. That over there. Let's take out the middle layer. This is the heavy layer. And this is the one, again, prototype. Things are changing, but this is roughly what it's going to look like. So we have a couple different things going on here. So let's start over here. So over here we have the bird feeder dice tower. We have a slot for bonus cards, and we have a slot for automa components. Also, the reference tile and the first player token will go over here in this slot because it's a little wider, a little bigger over here. Down in here we have a couple different trays. And so this space is made to fit 3 different trays that we're going to include in this box. But, and again, actually, I should stress this at the beginning. This big box is just a box and an organizer. No gameplay components will be included in this box. We sell things separately. So if you want gameplay stuff, you'll buy that separately. If you want the box, you can get that, just the box and the organizer here. So 3 trays will fit into this space. However, if you already have a custom insert from like Broken Token or a fancy insert place, or you've built one of your own, everything in this compartment is designed to be removed so you can put that custom insert right into this slot. So right here we have some of your bird cards will be contained in this tray. This tray will be taller. This is a removable tray right here that fits a ton of bird cards. And yes, everything fits sleeved cards. This will have a lid in the final version. Down here we have a tray. These score pads fit into the top of the tray. This tray has 2 different slots for food tokens, a slot for egg tokens, slot for a bunch of dice, and then some player tokens over here, and then gold tokens over here. There will be another tray like this that is similar, but it will have separate slots for food. So depending on your preference, some people like to keep their food together, all mixed together. That's how I do it. Some people like to keep each food in a separate compartment. So there will be another tray that's designed around that concept to satisfy both types of people. And the idea is that when you want to set up the game, all you really have to do is pick up one of these trays and put it on the table, and you can start playing. Obviously, you have to decide which cards you want to shuffle, but that's the concept behind these trays. And last, we have slots over here for lots of different bird cards. This will fit sleeve cards. Sleeve cards fit over here. And there are 4 different compartments over here. So you can separate birds by expansion, by cards you like, cards you don't like, cards that you recently played with that you didn't play with. You can sort them however you want in that section over here. And again, yes, we have designed this to fit a ton of sleeve cards. It'll fit, I have it on the website, I think it's over 1,100 unsleeved cards, but the game will probably only have between 700 and 800 cards. And so depending on the thickness of your sleeves, you'll either be able to fit them all into this section up here, or some of them might need to go on the bottom section, but probably not unless you have really, really thick premium sleeves. Let's go down to the bottom layer real quick. So the bottom layer is designed to be pretty modular. It can hold different things. So like right now I have 2 of the plastic trays, because you need one of these to actually play the game. You need the top of it. You can put cards, you can put extra components down in here. And then I have some of my plastic trays down here too. So if you want to keep certain things separate, if you have special custom player tokens like from MeepleSource, these are too big to fit into the middle layer, so you can keep them down here. This is kind of a modular space for you to do what you want with it. And it will come with one of these bird trays. So in case you've thrown away or hopefully recycled one of these bird trays, the box will come with one of them to put down here to contain stuff, cards, components, whatever you want. Yeah, that's the big box. That's at least the current prototype of the big box. There are things that are changing about it to make it better. I've gotten a lot of feedback from people in the Wingspan group and on our website. You can check out the big box page on our website if you want to offer feedback of your own. Yeah. Jesse says, is there a game that you've been craving to play lately? I just got the new version of Kemet. So I'm excited to play the new version of Kemet. Maybe this weekend I'll get it to the table. Other games I've been playing lately, so that's probably the one that I've been craving to play. Other games that I played lately, I just played The Rival Networks last night, a 2-player game based on the networks by Formal Ferret Games. I played Space Base. I always have fun with Space Base. Played 4 games of The King's Dilemma this past weekend, a legacy game that we're playing that we're really enjoying. We're through game 10 right now. I played In the Hall of the Mountain King last week at our first fully vaccinated in-person game night without masks in well over a year. All of my friends are fully vaccinated, so we were able to get together and play games without masks. It was a little weird, but we did it, and it felt good to get together with people for the first time in a long time. I played Blitzkrieg for the first time last week. Really, really good 2-player game. And I played, in fact, I should probably note this game. I need to always remember whenever I play a great 2-player only game, because I need to add them to my 2-player only list. Let's see. I need to add Blitzkrieg, really, really good, and Rival Networks. And I also played Destinies and did a video about Destinies, the new game. And I played Small Islands online on Board Game Arena last week at game night. Jonathan says, what's the word on the next Wingspan expansion? The word right now is just that it's in the works. Yeah. Tim taught a bunch of Stonemaier games to his brothers over the weekend. He said he taught Scythe, Tapestry, and Red Rising. That's awesome, Tim. Thanks so much for teaching so many of our games. He says, is Riverfolk too powerful? He says he had an unfair advantage. He felt that he had an unfair advantage. Perhaps in your game that ended up that way, I don't think... I'd have to look at the Civ adjustment guide to see if it is considered too powerful. If you weren't playing with the Civ updates, there are small starting adjustments to some of the civilizations that you can find on the Tapestry page of our website. Tim says, it wasn't until I received a certain Tapestry card that I was aware of the tech card upgrade prerequisites. How did I miss this all this time? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's right on the tech cards that you need to have that. Either you or your neighbors need to meet that condition for you to upgrade to the top level of a tech card. John says, are you the only game designer who live streams? I don't think so. I think there are probably a lot of game designers, a lot of other game companies that do live streams like this. Yeah, I know James Hudson does. He's the main one that I've seen, but I know other people in the industry do as well. Justo says, would you consider making the box of your next game oversized so it can fit potential expansions from the get-go? Yeah, that's always kind of the quandary. Do you make the original box too big, too small? How do you design the insert for it to fit future components? always a question that we have that we try to answer to the best of our ability. We try to leave extra room in there. So like even in the Red Rising box, there's room for extra cards, extra stuff in there. Um, but it's always, yeah, there's always a compromise. Do you give up a really nicely designed insert, or do you give up parts of it to fit stuff that you don't know what will happen? And I think the key here, Juso, is that I don't. When I design a game, I put everything that works, that's fun, into the game itself. I don't know what will be in future expansions. I know that maybe there will be more, or I think maybe there will be more cards. Maybe there will be more civilizations like in Tapestry. But I don't really know. I don't know if we'll even ever make expansions. So um, it's something I think about, but there's always a lot of give and take there. Yeah. Sean says, on the card slots, have you considered a thumb slot to make picking them up easier? What we're doing here is making the separators between the card slots and the Wingspan Big Box lower than the cards themselves. So they'll be 70 millimeters tall, but the cards are 87 millimeters tall. So they're kind of a built-in thumb slot where the cards are higher than that separator, so it's easy to pick them up. Yeah. Alan says, if we already own Between Two Cities and the expansion, is there a reason we would also want to buy Between Two Castles and the expansion? Is the gameplay significantly different? It is indeed significantly different, yeah. The only, I would say the two things that are similar is that they're both tile placement games and tile drafting games, and they both use the same drafting mechanism, where you're kind of sharing tiles with a castle on the right and a castle on the left, or cities if you're playing Between Two Cities. Beyond that, the games are very different. Between Two Cities just has I believe it's either 6 or 7 different abilities on the tiles, whereas in Between Two Castles, pretty much every tile is unique in some way. The ability is unique. Maybe there's a wall hanging that's unique. You're also not constricted to a 4x4 or 5x5 space. You end up with these zany castles that are really tall or really wide or really long. It is definitely a heavier game. It's longer. It's around twice the length of Between Two Cities. So it's not a filler game. It's a medium weight Euro game. And there's just more stuff. There are bonus cards that you can gain. There are collection bonuses. So whenever you have 3 of the same tile type in your castle, you get a bonus. And whenever you have 5 of the same of a tile type in your castle, you get another bonus. So there are these kind of set collection bonuses in it as well. There's a lot more going on in Between Two Castles. But feel free to check out reviews. There are lots of reviews that describe very briefly nice overviews of what the game is, what Between Two Castles is. So you'll get a pretty good idea of how different it is from Between Two Cities. It's quite different. Mark says, what color will the plastic tray be? I don't remember offhand, Mark. I have given the specs to Panda, but I don't remember offhand. Stan says, have you ever watched the Before You Play videos? I enjoy their tutorials and 2-player gameplays. They are very engaging and entertaining couple. Absolutely, Stan. Yeah, you might notice that they have a lot of games from us, and that's because I send them our games to feature on their channel, including the new expansion. They have the Between Two Castles expansion on their channel right now. And so, yeah, I really enjoy their channel. I've subscribed to them for a long time and enjoy the content that Monica and Naveen, no, Monique and Naveen make on their channel. But yeah, that we've been working with them, or not working with them. We've been sending them our games for quite some time. Tim says, would Stonemaier Games ever consider these campaigns added online? Oh, let's see, some context. I know how you feel about solo play, but Lost Ruins of Arnak has a neat solo campaign they just put out that seems neat. Would Stonemaier Games ever consider these campaigns added online? Yeah, I think Morton did this a long time ago with Tuscany, or maybe a Viticulture, and we ended up putting that into the printed rules at some point. He has something like that in Tapestry, in the Tapestry expansion. The first expansion is out there. It has a solo campaign play. So if Morton ever thinks of a solo campaign, or if any fan has a solo campaign, you're welcome to put it out there for people to play, and maybe it'll end up in one of the expansions someday. Jeff says, do I have anything fun planned for the upcoming holiday weekend here in the U.S.? I have a few social events planned. Again, all vaccinated. Fortunately, all my friends are vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated. So we're going to get together and play games on Saturday, I think. Yeah. Looks like I have a fussy cat back here. Walter has some things to say, so let's give him some food. Here we go. I'll let Walter eat over there while I chat. What else is going on? Let's look at my topics real quick before I get back to questions. Talked about the big box for Wingspan that's in the works. we're in the prototype stage, so it's still, even after we finish the prototype stage, it'll be 5 to 6 months before production and freight shipping are complete. So we're looking at best late 2021 for the Wingspan Big Box. Castles expansion, Red Rising retail release is coming up this Friday. So if you've been waiting to get the retail version of Red Rising, it will be available in stores this Friday, the English version worldwide. And if you are getting the retail version, if you're supporting your local store, I love that. You can always upgrade to the collector's edition by getting the collector's edition upgrade pack, which is now available on our web store. You can look for that under Red Rising. There's an upgrade pack that includes the metal tokens, the gold foil cards, and the card holders, things like that. I also did my video because it was somewhat topical. I did my Sunday sit down video this past weekend, my top 10 video about my top 10 game recommendations if you enjoy Between Two Castles. So actually, that question earlier from someone who asked about what's the differences between these games. I don't really go into the differences there, but I do talk about a bunch of games that have at least one great mechanism that is similar to a mechanism in Between Two Castles. That's my video this past Sunday. I have a few other random topics, but I'll jump back over to questions. Let's see. Matthias says, do you think you will design another higher direct interaction game more in the lines of Scythe? Scythe does have some direct interaction. It has a little bit of combat, but it's not really a combat game. I wouldn't necessarily call it a game with much direct interaction. So I guess if you're saying, am I going to design a game with fighting, with combat? Because all of our games have a lot of interaction, a lot of reasons to pay attention to other players, how the things they do impact what you do, the things that you do impact what they do. And that's generally the type of interaction I enjoy, especially if that interaction is at least somewhat positive, when you do something that is actually good for other players and lets you feel good about doing something that helped you, but also helped other players a little bit. I guess back to your question, am I going to do another game with combat? And it's possible. I think the type of combat that I would put in a game is not going to be a combat where either player walks away feeling angry or disappointed. Like, it's going to be friendly combat. So that if you're looking for games with harsh combat, you're not going to find them in the Stillmeyer Games products. Patrick said chocolate of the day. What is my chocolate of the day today? I have these coconut chocolate oatmeal clusters from Trader Joe's that are really good, so I might munch on one of those after I'm done with this video. I'll call that my chocolate of the day today. Ian says, do you worry that producing a big box will limit the design space of the remaining expansions? It's certainly a consideration. I don't want to do that. I'm designing this big box and the organizer to hold all current and future Wingspan stuff, which is tough because we don't know exactly what's going to be in the future expansions. We know there's going to be bird cards in them, probably some new bonus cards, probably some new gold tiles, things like that. But we don't know the rest of it. And that's why it's really important for the box to remain at least somewhat modular. That bottom layer is crucial for that. That there's a lot of space down there that isn't used for anything specifically. You can take stuff out, you can put stuff in, and that space I think will be crucially important in the future for future expansions. So with that in mind, I'm not too worried that it won't end up being able to fit all Wingspan stuff. So I'm confident it will fit all future Wingspan stuff. Mary asked, Blitz what? The two-player game I played is Blitzkrieg. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Blitzkrieg by designer Paolo Mori. Yeah. Carol has a happy note. She says, Viticulture was part of our first game day back with one group. One of the friends I taught it to broke my winning streak. He got a killer combo really early. Definitely made a new fan, though. She says, thanks for making 5-player games. It makes life so much easier on game days. That's why we make 5-player games, yeah. That's also scaled down to solo and 2-player modes as well. Jonathan says, have I ever considered designing a game and then another game that could be combined with each other but aren't expansions of either one? Could it even work? I've seen some game designers do stuff like that. They include overlapping components between two games. It's possible I brainstorm it at some point. I don't have anything like that in the works right now, though. No. Each of my games are kind of separate entities. Hans says, are there any updates on the next Tapestry expansion? No updates yet. You can track the progress on the progress chart of our e-newsletter, though, if you're curious to see how it's coming along. Patrick says, We haven't played Merchant's Cove yet, but we have played Drawn to Adventure, the roll and write companion game. What is your current favorite roll and write game? I do have a top 10 video about this, but I'll just answer off the cuff, like what roll and write game would I be the most excited to play right now? Probably Cartographers. I really love Cartographers. It always feels good to play. It's so easy to set up and play. Really, really do love Cartographers. Yeah, yeah. And we do have finally our own roll and write game coming out probably in the summer, the late summer, and that is Rolling Realms. I'm really, really excited about Rolling Realms. This is the game that was just a print and play game. It still is a print and play game that you can get on our website, but we have fancied it up a bit and printed it, and with some components that I'll talk about in the future. Not today, but I'm excited about Rolling Realms, about getting it out to you in a few months. Yeah. Jeff says, "Have I seen the new Geek Up bits for Tap Street on the Board Game Geek store?" I have not. No. They make those independent of us, so I don't necessarily see them. He says, "Is that something that required your permission before they created them?" In a few different ways, yes. So if anyone wants to make a third party component for one of our games, some enhanced component, they need to sign an agreement that just stipulates they don't pretend that it's an official Stonemaier thing. They don't use any official icons from our games, any official art, things like that. That's the one level. There is also a second level. There are a few very select companies that want to make something that's a little bit beyond the scope of that agreement, and we deal with that on a case-by-case basis. The Geek bits toe the line a little bit. I talk with Chad at the Geek Store about those bits just to make sure that they're fitting with what we can permit them to make. But other than that, they make them completely separate from us. We don't get a royalty on them or anything like that. And I hope they're making cool stuff for you. I love when other companies, third-party accessory creators, make cool stuff for our games. Max says he's inspired 3 of his closest friends to read Red Rising, and he hasn't even read it yet, but he's loving the game. That's awesome, Max. Thank you so much for sharing the game and the intellectual property with people so they can discover the books and the game together. Jordan says, "How finished of a prototype do you like to have ready before blind playtesting a new game? Does it depend on the group that you send it to?" My threshold for blind playtesting is I do a lot of local playtesting first. I want to make sure the game is fun and functional before I send it out to the world to blind playtesters. And so beyond that, the prototype has to be fun and functional. I guess that's the threshold there. It doesn't have to look all that good, just has to be functional. It doesn't have to have art, just has to be functional. So that's kind of the threshold that I look for before I start sending out the blind playtesters. Tim is talking about some conventions here. He's going to Gen Con. He's also working at a convention called RaptorCon in Evansville. I haven't heard of RaptorCon before. I'm excited to see conventions start to ramp up again as people can get together safely. Hopefully, fully vaccinated people. I keep throwing out that word because if you're not vaccinated, I really hope you do. I think it's really good, a really selfless thing for you to do, to look out for other people if you get vaccinated, and to look out for yourself and your family and the people that you care about. Samuel says, "How do you think board games could be made more inclusive for people with disabilities?" That's a wonderful question, Samuel. And I'm open to your thoughts too, if you have any thoughts if you've been thinking about this topic. One, I think, stepping stone is to include characters in games that have disabilities, whether they're disabilities that you can see while looking at like a miniature of someone in a wheelchair, someone missing a limb, or abilities that you have to talk about in the descriptive text that maybe impact the mechanisms, like a blind character who has trouble hearing, things like that. To basically let people feel included in the game, to let people see themselves in the games that they play. I think that's a really important part of being inclusive. I think another element of it, Samuel, is accessibility. Looking out for things like colorblind friendliness, low light, even low light friendliness for people who have pretty good vision but maybe can't see in low light. Not having text on cards that you have to look at from across the table. That's something I had to balance. That was very difficult to balance with Red Rising, because Red Rising is a game that has text on the cards. But things like that, looking at accessibility elements in games that make them friendly for people with different perspectives, basically. Yeah. But it's a topic that I think about a lot, and I'm still learning a lot about. So I'm happy to listen to people who have thoughts about that topic. What does Walter want? What do you want, Walter? Yeah. Okay. Jonathan says, what lessons learned from past big box releases, other than modularity, were crucial for the Wingspan big box, and what were no-nos for this one? Well, I learned a lot from making the Scythe Legendary box. I'm happy with how that box turned out. We still make it, we still sell it. It's basically though a big empty box. It doesn't really have an organizer in it. It has three different boxes on the inside, but they're very modular boxes, and I think a lot of people don't even use them. So I learned from that. I learned that having an organizer, if we're going to make a big box, we might as well make an organizer for it. But at the same time, but in doing so, it will be impossible to please everyone. So that's a sacrifice that we give up when we do that. The other thing that I learned is about pricing. So we made the Scythe Legendary box with the intent of selling it through distributors and retailers, as well as on our web store. But in doing so, we had to mark up the price because we sell to distributors at a pretty big discount. Distributors buy from us at a 60% discount. And so the Scythe Legendary box is very expensive to make, but we could have offered it for a little bit less if we were only selling it directly. And we do it at times. That's one of the reasons that I put it on sale on our web store at times, because we're able to. We have the margins if we sell it directly. And so that's one thing I've been thinking about a lot for the Wingspan big box. I've kind of approached it with, I haven't thought about cost. I don't even know. I don't know the cost for making this box yet. Panda will get back to me with that cost soon. In fact, I think they need to send me the big box quote at some point. I think I've asked for it. And so I'm not approaching it from a cost price perspective. I'm going into it thinking I want to make this as awesome as possible, and we will just sell it directly so we can sell it at a reasonable price, considering that it is a box with no gameplay component inside of it. So those are two of the things that I've learned. I've also researched other companies that have made big boxes and seen some interesting things that they've done, some things that worked or haven't worked. Greater Than Games made a big box for Sentinels on the Multiverse. The Chip Theory Games has made a big box, a very expensive big box for one of their games for, I believe, Too Many Bones. So I've researched these other big boxes to learn what works and what doesn't work. But also, similar to the other question, I'm here to listen. If people have ideas that they've learned from seeing big boxes, I want to learn from your experiences and your perspectives so that I can make this box and future big boxes as awesome as possible. Mark says, worst or best case scenario, depending on how you look at it, what if the nesting box, it is called, I keep calling it the big box, but it is going to be called the nesting box, couldn't contain all stuff from the Wingspan expansions? Is it possible to add a fourth layer if necessary, or are there other options that you've considered? That's an interesting question, Mark. Could it include a fourth layer? I don't think it's really designed to do that. It is possible, but it would make travel very difficult. In fact, it's such a big box that it will be pretty difficult to travel around. We're making it so that you could tip it on its side and put it into a bag, but it's going to be a heavy bag. Once you have 700 cards in there, plus bonus cards, plus Automa cards, it's going to be pretty heavy. So adding a fourth layer, it's an interesting idea, but I don't think it would work with the box. Yeah. And Mark says, are there any other options that you considered? Not really. I'm trying to just make the box be as modular and have as much space as possible to fit future stuff, especially the cards. Juso says, what's my opinion of Isle of Cats? For me, it looks and feels like a Stonemaier game. You could probably see you check out some of my videos from last year where I talk about Isle of Cats. It is definitely one of my favorite games. I love Isle of Cats. Yeah. I backed the expansion just yesterday. In fact, yesterday I backed two Kickstarters. I backed the expansion for Isle of Cats, because kittens, obviously, and I backed the expansion for Elizabeth Hargrave's Tussie Mussy, a wonderful little game from Button Shy Games. Francesco says he's looking forward to playing Rolling Realms. Thank you, Francesco. Peter says, can I spoil anything about Rolling Realms at this point? I could, but I don't do spoilers on this live chat, so I won't do that. Tim just actually mentioned the Tussie Mussy expansion on Kickstarter right now. Good timing, Tim. Jeff has a nice comment about transparency. Oh yeah, so Melissa Macaque at Room 51 did a really great and important video that I posted about in the Viticulture Facebook group. So check it out if you're not a member of that group. But it's also on the Room 51 YouTube channel, where she talked about Everdell and the husband and wife cards in Everdell, and how how those cards made her feel excluded from the game. And even though there have been ample opportunities for them to kind of include same gender relationships instead of just a husband and a wife. And I was really touched. I was really moved, not touched. I was really moved by this video, and I shared with Melissa a story about the Mama and Papa cards in viticulture, and how I essentially I made the same mistake that the oh, Biddy's here. 1 second. Biddy can't eat that food. So I made the same mistake with the Mamas and Papas, where I created heteronormative relationships in viticulture, the starting cards, the Mamas and the Papas, without giving players the option of having same gender mama, so like two Mamas or two Papas. And so this is something I realized, and I realized it a while ago, but didn't know how to fix it. Didn't know how to fix it until the solution came to me, and it's basically the one thing that I've revealed about the upcoming viticulture expansion so far, in that we will now include, or we have a new set of Mamas and Papas that can be shuffled in with the original cards. They're new mechanically, new in the things that they offer you. But we're now offering pink Papa cards and blue Mama cards, so that when you shuffle the pink Papas in with the original Mamas, you'll have an assortment of Mamas and Papas among the pink cards, the kind of the left side cards, the cards that give you cards and workers. And then we also have blue Mamas that you'll shuffle into the blue Papa cards, and so you'll have these blue cards, and you'll combine, so that way you'll end up with a random draw of a pink card and a blue card that might be a man and a woman, it might be two women, it might be two men, or if you just want to play with Papa pairings or Mama pairings, you can do that. And basically, thank you, Jeff, for bringing it up. It's just something that I've wanted to fix for a long time, and didn't figure out how to do it. And then I figured it out, and we're doing it in the expansion. But either way, I recommend that people, if this is on your mind, if it's something that's interesting to you, I'd recommend checking out Melissa's video on the topic. And you can see my comment. I don't know if it's recent any longer, but it's a comment on that post where I talk about this topic. Darren says, any thoughts on a viticulture big box? What about adding stuff like card sleeves, card holders in a big box? Is it cost prohibitive to add those kinds of things? Well, I think the key for me, the second part of the question is I don't want to add anything that people already have. So if people already have sleeves, and a lot of people do, it just becomes a redundant thing for them in the box that they're paying for even though they don't need it. So I don't want to do that. As for viticulture big box, it is something that I have thought about a lot. And I was thinking for a long time that I would design the viticulture expansion to go in a big box that you could then put all viticulture stuff in. But it made the price so expensive. I tried to make it, and it was just way, way too expensive to do it. And so it is something that I will consider in the future for viticulture, but it isn't going to be not Tuscany, it isn't going to be the expansion box anymore as I had once envisioned it being. Yeah. Howard says, have I considered selling a deluxe Wingspan Dice Tower accessory? That's a great question, Howard. We have an agreement with the company that designed the cardboard tower in Wingspan, a company called Tower Rex, that they will make the special version of this, and they do. So if you look on Etsy under Tower Rex, I think it's even linked on our website, you can find that they offer two different really beautiful wooden Wingspan Dice Towers. One that is essentially the same as the cardboard version, just it looks prettier because it's wood, and one that is much bigger and much more elaborate, and you can paint it, you can leave it unpainted, it's up to you, and they offer that version as well. So we aren't going to sell it directly, but it is something that you can get from Tower Rex. Let's see here. Jonathan says, what is your vice for backing games on Kickstarter? Oh, okay, so like, what's the hook for me? As an example, price doesn't, for Jonathan, he says, as an example, price doesn't matter within reason. Certain IP or components are just too good. I don't know if I have a specific vice. I definitely look for certain things. I look for art and graphic design. I look for an interesting mechanical hook, something that's a little different about the thing that's being offered, the game that's being offered. I look for a fair price. I know how much games cost to make. I have that inside perspective. And so I know when you're selling them directly, you can sell them cheaper than when you sell them to distributors and retailers. So you don't need to work off of an MSRP when you're on Kickstarter. So I look at a fair price. I look at interaction between the creator. I look for trust signals. Can I trust this creator? Things like that. What else do I look for? Sometimes I look for, I mean, there are definitely publishers and designers that I get excited about because I know what they've made so far, but I also get excited about new designers and new publishers. So I wouldn't say I have like one single vice that really hooks me in. Good art, good graphic design definitely always intrigues me, interesting theming. And there are certain mechanisms that I'm just drawn to more than others. I have my favorite mechanisms. Yeah. Carol also had a comment about the Room 51 video. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. I'm going to read Carol's comment because I think this is really well said. She says, I just wanted to let you know, as a teacher, I greatly appreciated your comment on Room 51. I have such a variety of students dealing with problems related to this, and it was great seeing someone acknowledge this and including them. That says it so well, Carol. Yeah, thank you for saying that. And this is something that I'm still learning a lot about. I come from a place of ignorance and a place of privilege and limited perspective, and so I am absolutely learning about it. And so I'm learning as I go. Yeah, just trying to listen to people like Melissa, to Carol, to learn more about this. Michael also says that he found it educational, and he hopes to be more inclusive in his designs going forward. That's awesome, Michael. I love to hear that. Christopher says, what are the chances of getting a board game based on my novel Wrinkle? This is something I've talked about a little bit, just a little bit in past videos, where I wrote a novel while I was designing viticulture, even though viticulture has nothing to do with a novel. Christopher, actually don't know if the novel translates all that well to a board game. If I return to it someday and actually finish editing the novel and publish it, it'll probably just be the novel. It'll probably just stand alone. But it would be kind of cool to tie the two together, to do a novel and a board game together in one. The novel deals a little bit with time travel. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. We'll see. We'll see. But I appreciate you floating the idea, keeping it on my mind. Tim says, are you still considering making a viticulture wine, like actual wine with a viticulture label? We do have, there's someone who's looking into it. I'm not pressuring them to look into it, but they're taking a bit of time, obviously, for them to look into it. Basically, it would be us selecting a special batch of wine from a producer and putting a special label on it and calling it viticulture wine. So it's something that we're looking into a little bit. And Tim, I'm open to other ideas. If you're getting into winemaking and have an idea related to that, feel free to let me know. Yeah. Something that would be a very small batch, I think, a very small batch. Eduardo says, I'm so glad to see a board game designer speak out about vaccines with conventions opening up again. As someone who participated in the Pfizer clinical trials last year, wow, Eduardo, thank you for doing that. That is incredibly selfless and generous of you to do that, to participate in the trial. He says, it's great to know all the hours and blood we gave aren't wasted. They are not. They really are not. Thank you so much for doing that. Jeff says, do you ever see Stonemaier Games offering custom card sleeves for some of your games in the future? We have talked about, we'll talk with Pin about that. Something I probably wouldn't do unless we offered it from the very start. The one place where I've thought about it a little bit is if we do a deck building game, that I feel like in many deck building games, sleeves make the game a lot better. They really help just with shuffling. If you're shuffling the game, the cards a lot, they essentially need a sleeve. And so if you offer a deck building game without sleeves, you're essentially saying this game isn't quite complete. Go buy some sleeves to help out here. I can see some both sides of that argument, but that's how I feel a little bit. Even though I don't even sleeve my deck building games, I just let them get worn if I play them. So it is something I'm considering if we ever make a deck building game. Yeah, I'll make a note about that because that is something that I need to keep in mind. Edgar says, what is next for Stonemaier Games? Is everything that you revealed for this year so far coming together? Like the Tapestry expansion, things like that. So the Tapestry expansion is in the works. I think that's still on track for a 2021 release. Next up will be Rolling Realms. Of course, the focus today is on the thing that's happening today, the pre-order for Between Two Castles, Secrets and Stories, the new expansion for Between Two Castles. The first and only expansion for Between Two Castles. Sean says, how difficult do you think a game in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy world would be to make? I don't know. I think you'd have to really love that book. I do enjoy the book. I read it as a kid. I think I watched the movie. I think if you really loved it, you could probably find some way to feature it in a game. It isn't something that I thought about in particular, but it probably isn't impossible to do. I think there are lots of things that can be turned into board games. It's more of a question of, is it fun? Will it be fun for people to play? Two other like little topics I have here. I'm playing disc golf today. I'm loving disc golf as a nice activity, nice sport to get outside and play. And I included a little question in this month's e-newsletter where I say here, out of sheer curiosity and a slim chance we might make something related someday, here's a survey that simply asks, do you play disc golf? Let's look at the results so far to see what it says. Do you play disc golf? Uh, let's see, 278 people have replied, and 65% of them have said yes, they play disc golf. And most of them live in the United States. The reason I'm asking this, the main reason I'm asking this, is that there are ways that you can custom print disc golf discs, but I am generally I am generally hesitant to make something unless it appeals to a lot of different people. Basically, I have my own hobbies and passions as an individual, as Jamie the individual, and I want to keep them separated with respect to Stonemaier Games, the company, and the things that are good for Stonemaier Games fans in general, as a whole, as a group. And so, even though it might be fun for me to make a custom disc golf with Stonemaier Games printed on it, if that's just for me, I can just do that on my own. But if it's for a significant number of Stonemaier Games fans, I would be open to doing that. So if you are a fan of disc golf, and that's something that might be exciting to you, feel free to fill out the survey on the Stonemaier Games e-newsletter. It's under the shipping chart for Between Two Castles pre-order. It's down there, yeah. The other thing I blogged about recently was a farmer's market. We've been going to a farmer's market the last couple of weekends, picking up some fresh produce, some goodies to nibble on. And I wrote in a blog post about specialization because it's been really interesting to see at this farmer's market that some people focus on a very specific item. Like there's a mushroom tent where all they sell is mushrooms. There's a pickled tent. All they sell is pickled stuff and pickles. There's a baklava tent where you can go get all sorts of types of baklava. And I just found that fascinating that they focused, and I was like, I love focus. I love when companies focus on a specific thing and just get really good at making that thing, and they're known for that thing. And it's something that I generally try to do at Stonemaier Games. I veer from that path a little bit from time to time, but it's something I generally try to do, try to stay focused so that you know what the Stonemaier Games brand is about when you go to check out a new product from us. Edgar has a tough question here. I'm going to ask the question, Edgar. I'm probably not going to answer it though, because I think it's a question to ask, but not necessarily not for me to answer. Edgar says, "Is it bad that even if I see a husband and wife in a game like Everdell, I don't feel excluded? Not to dismiss people that do, but you cannot please everybody, and I personally don't feel excluded. Hope people find a voice in board games because it is not just about me." So I'm not going to answer your exact question, Edgar, but I would say that I think it's really important to acknowledge, as I think you're doing here, that your perspective is your own, and other people have different perspectives. They've gone through different things. They have different backstories. Everyone has their own backstory, and they come to games. They come to this hobby, this wonderful hobby that can be really, really inclusive if we want it to be. They come to this hobby with different backstories, different perspectives than our own. So. I think that's important. That's important to keep in mind. That while it's okay that you don't feel excluded, that's definitely okay. That's your experience. That it's important, I think, for you to also see that someone else might feel excluded. And Melissa goes into this quite a bit in the video, where she knows that she knows there's no malicious intent behind the husband and wife card, but she also knows that it's been an issue that's been brought up by some people. It's been an issue for some people that has been brought up to the designers, to the publishers of Everdell over the years, many times, and they've like me with the mamas and papas, they've acknowledged that it's a problem, or that at least that they hear the issue and they haven't done anything about it. And I think that's what bugged Melissa the most, that they hear it and they haven't found a solution. At the same time, I empathize with the designers and the publisher because, like me with mamas and papas, I acknowledged for a long time that it was a problem. I didn't like that it was a problem, but I couldn't think of a solution for it. And until now, it took me a while to figure out a solution. Sometimes it just takes time to figure out a solution that works. And so those are just some thoughts I'll throw out there. Justin says, Can't wait to see the news from today. Yeah, hopefully you can go back and watch some of the video, Justin. This is the big news for today. There's other news in our e-newsletter as well about expansions that we've restocked that you can buy along with the Between Two Castles expansion, among other things on the web store today and the e-newsletter. Tom says, did I get the fake Stonemeyer Facebook account shut down? Any outcome? Yeah, we had a very weird thing happen last week. I think it was early last week where someone just a person decided to start a profile and portray it as if it was a Stonemeyer Games profile. Stonemeyer Games has a Facebook page, but not a personal profile. And they were basically impersonating the company and me. They were using photos of me as their photo, which was very disconcerting to see. And it took a while for Facebook to shut them down, but with some help, some official forms filled out, a lot of reports, people reporting the fake profile, I believe it is now shut down. They blocked me fairly early in the process, so I couldn't really see if they were actually shut down or if I was just blocked. But I believe we had confirmation from Facebook that they did shut it down. Yeah, but it might pop up again in the future. So if you ever get a friend request from Stonemeyer Games, it is not real. It is fake. Even if it looks similar, look for a typo in the name, things like that. It is not real. You'll never get a friend request from Stonemeyer Games because it's a Facebook page, not a profile. And you probably won't get a friend request from me either because I only have Facebook friends with people that I've actually met in real life. So while I love the whatever the relationship that I have with our fans is, my Facebook friend list is very specific to people that I've actually met. Mark says, I'm contemplating the expansion for Tapestry. What would you say is the best feature of the expansion? It's mostly a more stuff expansion, which is a feature in itself. You just take the stuff out of the box and shuffle it in with the stuff in the core game. Makes it really easy. But one of my favorite features about it, the new thing in it, are the landmark cards. So at the beginning of the game, you get a landmark card with a landmark on it. And it gives you just a little goal to pursue, just a little direction. It doesn't dictate your entire strategy. It just gives you a little nudge in a certain direction. So you can choose to go after that goal. And it basically guarantees that you'll get a landmark pretty early in the game, which feels good. It's good to get those landmarks. It's your own unique thing. No one else can take it away from you. You're not racing to get it or anything like that. So I really do like those. I like, and that gave us a way to include landmarks in future expansions without kind of bogging down or switching things out with the core game. You still have those landmarks that are on the tracks on the tech cards, but you also have them on landmark cards now. Ivan says, which one do I like more, the escape room or the unlock series? That's tough. I like them both. I love Escape Room in a Box, the werewolf experiment. Awesome, memorable experience of an escape room. I also really like the Unlock series. I've had a lot of fun with them. The Star Wars one in particular was a lot of fun recently to play. It's hard to say. I don't know if I would say that I like one more than the other. They're pretty different. Like Unlock, you can repack up and give to a friend, and that's nice. But the werewolf one is, I would say, almost more memorable because you are messing with the components in a variety of ways I don't want to spoil here. That makes them, the tactile nature of it makes it more memorable, I think, than some of the Unlock puzzles and reveals. Yeah, so I like them both. Max says, when answering a question recently, you said there will be a Tapestry expansion in 2021. Did you mean to say viticulture? No, I meant to say Tapestry. Yeah, you can see it on the progress chart for our company, for the e-newsletter. You can see that the order is Between Two Castles expansion, that's today, and then Rolling Realms, then the second Tapestry expansion is next. So the viticulture expansion isn't in production yet. So, but the Tapestry expansion is. Yeah. Tim says the new big box for the Isle of Cats advertises a 2-minute setup. How fast can one set up Wingspan with a big box? So it depends a little bit on the bird cards and how you want to sort the bird cards, but setup should just take, it should take less than a minute because you're just taking the tray out of the box and taking the lid off, opening up your player mat and shuffling some cards and putting them on the card mat. So very, very little time with the new box. Yeah. Michael says, I remember you had a breakdown of where your projects were. Do you have something like that on your website? We do. Yeah, so it's on the e-newsletter, which you can see a link to in the description here. And it's also on the news page of our website. If you go to the top of the website and see the word news, click on that and you'll see the progress chart. Let's see. Jeff says, do I log your gameplays using any apps? I don't. The one thing I do is that whenever I play a game, I rate it on Board Game Geek. So even if I only played a game once, I will rate it there, and I'll go back and change that rating later if it changes. But that's how I keep track of games that I've actually played. Joel says, "How do I think the Between Two Castles expansions works with a lower player count? Do you think it changes the game substantially?" Thank you very much. I didn't need to read the "thank you very much," but I did. I think it plays really well at lower player counts. The expansion, I would say, plays even better than the original game at lower player counts, including solo, because the original game didn't play it solo at all. But both the original game and this game play at 2 players, to the point that on the core game box we said it was a 2 player variant, and now it's just kind of seamlessly integrated into the expansion itself at 2 players. Yeah, I think it plays really well there. Let's see here. George says, "How many eggs can the Wingspan Big Box accommodate?" Quite a few. I have all of my. I have, well, let's say, I have like 120 eggs in one of the trays in the big box, and there will be 2 of those in the final version of the big box. So a ton of them, around 250 probably eggs that you can fit in there. Yeah. Briss says, "What games are you currently playing?" I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I'll say it real quick. Recently I played Space Base, The Rival Networks, The King's Dilemma, In the Hall of the Mountain King, Blitzkrieg, Destinies, and Small Islands. Briss also has a question about the big box for Wingspan. We're in the prototype stage for that, Briss. I do need to go in a second here, but you can go back earlier in the video and learn more information about that. And you can also just go to our website under the Wingspan menu and see the Wingspan nesting box, we're calling it. You can see information about that. We're right at 11 o'clock now, so if you haven't pre-ordered this expansion, go ahead and go over to our web store and check it out. I'm going to sign off, and I'll put this video on YouTube, so if you have any follow-up questions or comments, feel free to go over to YouTube and post them there, and we'll continue the conversation. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great Wednesday, great week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Take care.